अभी ठीक है ना? ठीक है। थक गया लेकिन अभी अच्छा हो रहेगा। 10 किलोमीटर वॉक करके आ गया। ये ब्रेक है। अच्छा ठीक है सर, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। हाँ मोय
started?
Actually, we are already implementing some of the programs, but then the story and the history of Dhara Vikas is known to everyone, and just especially these young officers are there, whom I wanted to give an exposure visit, so they will have an first-hand information from the implementing agency with the public, and also what's the outcome now and how it's being sustained after the post project, how it's being maintained. All these things we just wanted to, and that way under the Springshed, enthusiastically Nawadi is willing to fund us. So that way also we want to take up in a larger scale. So we thought it's the best way we should go to.
You don't do under Manrega implementation?
Manrega is done under this RD department, rural department, rural development they are doing. But then ourselves we are doing on the Springshed. Springshed we want to do because under the new guideline, the watershed and the Springshed is there. So Springshed is more of an more technical. We are planning to involve the NIH, National Institute of Hydrology. So the role of hydrologist is also more required in there. So that way our plan is there.
So usually because we implement through Manrega because it actually entails digging up trenches only.
Right.
But where to dig up trenches is the technical part. So that is done by the technical people.
Yes,
so that is what we do because that way we can get more funds to do all that because technical studies, feasibility studies does require more. You can switch off that mic there. So that's that one then. So that is how we are doing it here, and we started on the Manrega. That's why it is a permissible activity under MGNREGS. We only got it included in 2012 because we didn't have funds to do digging up trenches. But the technical and technical studies, feasibility studies, and all those, especially to study the landscape and all, we need more money for that. So that's why even when we had when the Ministry of Jal Shakti called us in 2018, Mr. Nitin Gadkari was the minister. He wanted to know what we are doing. So that time also I made it very clear that you give us more money because where and how to do it is more important than actually doing it. So if you tell anybody to dig a trench, they'll dig a trench. But technicality, you have to see where to dig it. Because it should not lead to landslides, it should not lead to other fatalities. If you dig in the forest, if it is too deep, animals should not be injured. So there are so many things that we really have to look into. So that we found requires more funds than actual implementation. So that is what we've been trying our best to implore on the central government also. And I think it's nice. Soil and water conservation does only watershed and Springshed for you. Agriculture department is in the forest, no? Forest. So here the forest department and the agriculture department have soil and water conservation sections. So here in rural development we don't. But because by virtue of the fact that we are the ones in rural development who started with the Dhara Vikas thing in 2008-9, so we are still carrying it on. And whenever anyone requires feasibility and all, they come to us. So most of the time we are the ones actually implementing it. So I think Arunachal also we had taken it in 2014-15, I think, no, when the Indian Mountain Initiative. Yeah. We had Itanagar, he had gone with all that, Indian Mountain Initiative. The meeting used to take place, and it was in Arunachal. Arunachal, we had gone and not Sikkim. Before that, IMI, Indian Mountain Initiative, that there is a consortium of all those things. So that meeting was
in the paper,
that was held in Arunachal, and we had taken Dhara because they wanted us to come. Then MP wanted us to come, so I sent my team there. So it's nice that we'd like to see how we can help you, because I think even in Meghalaya we were there to help them and handhold them before they got the climate change project. I think they are now implementing the climate change project. So likewise in Nagaland also, we had a whole team from Nagaland also. They are also implementing. So most of the northeast states, we've always welcomed them. So that we can do, because this is because we in the mountains mostly depend on springs. We don't have bore well and all those wells. I don't know what
very expensive also.
No, because we don't have a water table as such in the hills. Like the table type of thing.
Springs are the only lifeline.
Springs are the only lifeline for us, and it becomes very like in the north and east district of Sikkim. We have the glaciers and snow-fed gaps, mountains and all. At least our source is snow-fed. But if you look at south and parts of West Sikkim, there is no mountains, there is no snow. Only and only springs. So you have springs everywhere. But then because of climate change, these springs are all dying out. So that is what is happening. South is a drought-prone area. And that also rainfall is also less because it falls in the rain shadow area of the Darjeeling Himalayas. So it will be good. And where are we taking them?
We are taking them to
Manila, South Sikkim. Okay, we've just done that, and a lot of projects are going now. Actually, because once we started and we don't even have a repository like a data of saying how many springs we have. I don't think you also have.
Still we are in the process.
No, because it's very difficult.
Very difficult, ma'am.
No, because you cannot capture it from satellite data. You cannot capture it, and then most of the time, what happens? I don't know. I think all northeastern states are the same. We don't have our own people doing it. We expect somebody from India to come, central mainland to come, and poor chaps, they can't even walk in the hills. So how many springs are they going to find out? So in 2014-15, no, we had a UNDP project. UNDP, everybody wanted to do something for Springshed. So I said, when the UN came, I said, fine, you do one thing, you give us funds, we will do mapping. Manrega we have in all the Gram Panchayats, no? So all Gram Panchayats we have Gram Rozgar Sahib. I told these people, you are living in the villages all your life. You geotag springs. For each spring you've geotagged and you've collected data on discharge. We showed them how to collect the data. Very crude method of that timer and that 1 liter, how much time it takes. So we taught them the simple method. We said, okay, you take that discharge, how much it is. So and I said everyone who does it 50 rupees per spring, but it will be in the app and geotagging and with photographs, and we have a website, so we link it. So that's how we got around 2200 1800 springs we could geotag that way. Then they were like, whoever wants to look for more springs and find more, they have to have a full data and also photographs and geotag. That way we know, like they cannot fudge and say that a spring is there and they have to show the spring on the ground. And that way we could actually do 1800 springs only in south, mostly in south and west. South and west, not in the north. Because here we are not concentrating much because we don't have so much of water problem. So I felt that involving our own people and especially in the people living in the villages, it proved more good for us, because then after that, after some time, I said, okay, anyone who's interested in water and water problems and all, there's so much of problem. Everybody wants to see how they can themselves not have a problem in the village. So we involved them, and again, Manrega only, I had very good staff in the block level. So I said, who are interested, you all tell me. Okay. Those are interested, come and get trained. So I organized the training with them. Who sponsored that training? SDC. SDC had a program, Swiss Development, they had some program. I said, I am only stressing on capacity building of our local people, so that I do not have to wait for somebody to come from somewhere and help me do it. No, I won't. Because there is, actually it is very simple science. But then in the northeastern region, in the hills, what we think is science is only for the intelligent people. Even in schools and all, we feel that only the ones who are really intelligent and who top the class should take science. We have made science so difficult for the children. So, that is the mindset that we have, and I think the entire Northeast is like that. If you are very good in studies, you become a doctor, engineer, that's it. Science, and then little bit I am not very comfortable, so I'll take arts or commerce or whatever, thinking that science is very technical and very difficult. But the fact that we ourselves are living science, and how difficult is it to your water you're getting is scientific only, but we should not make it so difficult for the common people to understand.
Exactly.
So the more we simplify it, the more people will understand. So I said I don't have any problem. You can be from arts background, commerce background, anyone who's interested in working for water, let's come forward. So that way we've trained around how many of them? 8-10, no? 8-10 very interested young boys over there. They are all APOs. They work in the block for Narega, and they are all BTech people, no? Computer science people. They are all computer science people. So they also, because it's water and let's do something for our state, so they came forward and they have trained. 3 days training, then 5 days training, then 15 days training. So they've done that. Now they are also very, very comfortable with Dhara Vikas. I have Sherbadur here. He's a PhD in MA, he's doing, you've done PhD? No. He's doing PhD in Nepali language. But he's my technical person on the field for Dhara Vikas. So you don't have to be a science graduate or a science background. All you have to know is that where your water is coming, where your thing is coming. So he's very good in technical now because he's trained throughout. And what I'm trying to say is it's not difficult to train. Anybody who has basic common sense can be trained. So you don't require, of course, hydrogeology and all, you need to be trained in that particular subject. But how many of them will you need? So one at the top, he's the hydrogeologist here, so he keeps doing the planning. I am a bureaucrat. I am of science background, of course. I've done my master's in science and zoology with environmental science. So little bit, I'm little scientifically, so I can understand what he's trying to tell. So, but I don't need to get into the details of that, because at our level we know where we can tell. We get computer thing, we ask CDAC to do, then I have Pune University, he studied in Pune University, so he has his contacts there. Then we have in IIT Roorkee some people who worked in Springs. So we know where the particular people are there, like experts are there. We get them and then we translate them into the most understandable thing on the ground. Because one thing what I've realized is, even when I was in the National Steering Committee for one project, CDAC had done it, and I'm not a scientific person, and all IIT and Roorkee and everybody was there, and I was a little hesitant to be in that thing because I didn't know what I was talking. But once in the committee, once or twice, I was quite worried. Then I realized that nobody has experience on the ground. They can talk all book knowledge.
Yeah, theoretically only.
Theoretically, they knew everything. I went on saying, you break it down to me. I have to understand what this is. So that is how the project went forward also, because it was in Sikkim. CDAC had done it in Sikkim, hydrogeological decision support system. They want computerized things, so they had done. So it was a very eye-opening exercise for me because I didn't know. So that is what I have felt. That we have to make it simple. We have to involve the local people on the field, the ones who are affected by water the most. Because they are the ones who are facing day in and day out hardship because of no water. No, so they will be the ones who are ready to learn, ready to do, and ready to do anything for the village to get water. So that I feel is very important as we go forward, and it will be good, because we have experts on one hand. We'll need somebody to link with the experts, but at the end of the day, we'll need people like local people to actually go on the ground, trek and find out and see how to do it. So that is one thing I really feel, and I always tell everybody who comes also that let us develop a local talent, local pool, local everything. Let's have, because
should be encouraged.
No, they should be made responsible for the place they're living in, no? Because it will be difficult otherwise. That's what, as somebody from outside, I will not go somewhere, and I think in Tamil Nadu they're calling us, no? They're also doing Dhara Vikas. I help them online, everything, but who wants to go to Tamil Nadu and trek in those hills in that hot weather? I'm not ready to go there, but I've helped them. Online we've done everything. So like that only, who wants to come here and trek in difficult terrain, and until unless you have to be really passionate, and but you could really be able to do that. So in the long run, I think it's better that our young local people get involved and help it. But because Dhara Vikas is not rocket science, I keep telling you, it's nothing to do with very scientific thing. The only thing what we are doing is, because initially we used to have rainfall over a long period of time, water used to percolate, we used to not have so much of concrete structures, aram se water used to get into the soil and get recharged. Now with concretization, all urbanization, and the rainfall pattern has changed, it falls so heavy and then all the streets become rivulets here, in Gangtok also. Little bit of heavy rain and the main road is like a river. Because of it doesn't get time to get into the percolated. Because I remember as kids we used to have rain continuously, little bit rain, it keeps on falling for a long year, as if it's pouring buckets of water from the heavens. So that is what it happens now. So because of all these, so what we do is just find good places to dig up trenches and collect this water and let it give it time to get into the soil. That is all we are doing. There is nothing much there. Of course, where you dig the trench, how you place the trenches, where you place it, how do you capture maximum, that is for the technical people to design and tell us. And always Dhara Vikas is something that you have to go to the ground and design on the ground. We cannot do on Google Maps and terrain and 3D, it won't happen because you cannot be accurate. When you go to the ground, you realize there's something there you cannot dig. Or then perhaps so. Everybody should be locally, capacity building has to be done so that they know exactly where they can place like this. So I think that is one thing that that is very important. Otherwise, I think Dakhal will take you through Dr. Dakhal will take you through all what we have done. So you can see that it is the most simplest of things that we've done. We've not done anything very difficult to understand. And my only endeavor is to ensure as many people learn about Dhara Vikas in the villages as possible. And now I think in Sikkim we've little gone over also because everybody thinks Dhara Vikas will solve all water problems. So after I keep telling, nahi, it won't happen. Here Dhara Vikas cannot take place because of this reasons. I have to keep telling. So I hope you have a good time and you really enjoy this field exposure. I think we are taking you to the latest site that we've done. Under which project was that? NAPCC only. National Adaptation Fund.
We are also implementing one project on the NFCC.
Which project is that?
NFCC Springshed.
Springshed. So we
Also, actually, this project has been taken up by the Forest Department, Forest and Environment. So we are just an implementing entity, one of the implementing entity in this project.
For us, totally implementing is done by MG and RAG's job card holders only. Because they are in the villages and we just tell them, I think this Shehbadur goes everywhere and tells them how to place the trench and whatnot, and he oversees that. So, because it's land, it's permissible, no? So that is easy thing. We use our funds that we get only for capacity building and for feasibility studies and all. That requires a lot of fund, more than the implementation.
Yeah, and another project we are taking up under NABARD, 2 Springsheds we are taking up right now. So it's in the implementation stage. We are also doing this trenches and all, recharge speed trenches, control trenches, continuous trenches, all the things we are doing. But still, just to get another exposure, like we have some, we know that we are able to do it. But still, if we see from others, we'll learn more. And we know that this
Interaction will learn.
Dhara Vikas is already having a success story.
So,
also, I think we can't look at each spring now, and Springshed is actually the landscape we have to consider. So
Yes.
more than initially we started with trying to revive each spring. It didn't. Sometimes it was successful, sometimes it was not. Then we realized that one work we were doing in one case was actually not affecting that spring, but affecting something else down the line.
So by understanding of the role of geohydrology is
very important. Please have tea. Anything else that you'd like to know from us?
From us, from our side, ma'am, nothing. But then all, the response from your side and your office itself is overwhelming for us. And we are here. And apart from that, all we just wanted to actually interact with the people, local people. How it, many a times it's said like difficult to convince the local people. They think whenever we talk of rejuvenation or rejuvenation of Springsheds and all, they think there should be very high technology, this sort of things. And when we talk of this small things we need to do, they'll just say, no, it won't work. Many times this had been thought, but then it never worked. So this kind of thing, and how you manage to convince those people. So this is also a big task, because you never find in these books and literature. This is the practical experience and how you have convinced. This my officers will be learning from you people. So this will be a great help. Apart from that, once we say like in the government also, after visiting this, we are going back to our government and we say that the implementation done by the government of Sikkim is almost the same what we are doing. And their success story is this, because they are getting a continuous support financially, even in the state plan. Other gap filling fundings also Sikkim government must be giving to your department.
No, we don't get funding from anywhere.
Except
In fact, initially when we started, it was absolutely no funding and only Manrega for implementation. Then GIZ helped us with one feasibility study in this one ridge. I think 20 lakhs for studies they did. No, they did it, GIZ, and they did the studies and they told us where to dig the trenches. Again, we took Manrega and went. I think the only then STC and all came and helped. UNDP helped us with the mapping of springs. Again, no funding for implementation and all. Again, SDC came only for capacity building because they didn't have funds. So usually Manrega, what we do is, once the people understand that this is how it has, what has helped recharge the springs, and they, Malli is a classic example. Every year, every 2 years, the local people only go to desilt and take care of that.
the mechanism might be there, no?
Yeah. 3 days earlier, only people from Mali, they just wanted to do additional trenches.
Okay.
So I said that we have already done 3 years ago, so immediately to do this. They said we'll ensure that we want to dig the trenches because it has helped. So we want new sites in the new places. So they were insisting on the people now they are insisting
people are
want to
insisting.
do Dhara because of the success.
And because Manrega is implementing it, no, so Manrega funds is always there. But then we say where we have done no maintenance. You maintain it, new area we will take up. So that is how we are doing it. So we don't have actually like continuous funding. We are surviving because we are Narega team. And Narega funding is there, Narega takes care of it. In other usual plans only, nothing else is there. So Dhara Vikas as such, the extra funding and support, gap filling, nothing is done by the state government. Because it has to come under a program. So we've integrated it with Manrega only so that implementation is done. So when some organization comes forward to say like what can we do in Dhara Vikas and all, then we identify the areas that we really require help.
That is
Privatizing.
Okay, then sometimes when we wanted to do this geotagging, we were breaking our heads from where will we get the money to actually incentivize people. If I don't incentivize people, they will not help me. Money is important, So without that, then they came and I told you, and they were really interested. I said, forget about implementation. I have enough funds for that. You give me money. I want to geotag my springs, and I will give you a proposal. So according to that, we gave a proposal. And then they've sanctioned. Not much, it was 7-8 lakhs or something like that, and in that we did so many things, and they did instrumentation also, they helped us. Then again we wanted to know, because every time mechanically we are measuring how much, we don't know how accurate, and they are all latest data, the technology available to measure spring discharge and all. So he was telling us that we can have this, from where to get the funds. Again SDC came and for capacity building, I said along with capacity building you do this. Critical springs we identified, critical as in maximum number of a spring where maximum number of households are dependent. So that we want to do this instrument, continuous data.
You might be keeping the data of discharge also. After post project. And free also.
So we have done that in 10 places, no? 10
then only the comparative will be there.
There are 10 springs, and we've trained again Sherwadhan only how to collect the data. So one laptop and this auto, then some software is there, and we get that and he sits and we analyze sometimes we publish papers because he's a scientific person, so we keep publishing papers also. Then we have Dr. Tambe from Indian Institute of Forest Science. He's the one who initiated this. So we are in constant dialogue. Then we have from Aquadam. So we have a whole network also of mostly philanthropic. We are doing it, you know. So that's how we get. No, funding is actually, if you look at it, government way, funding will be very difficult. If we wait for funds, it will never happen because everybody is cash strapped. Economically, very. I think yours also not. You really depend on the center only to give us something. So NFCC also, we actually under NFCC, we were not given funds to plan. Planning ke liye they were not giving us funds. So I said, if you are not giving funds for planning, we don't want to do the project. Because without planning, I can't do the project. So they want us to only do the project, but funding, they are saying planning you do from the state. I said, if my state had funds, why would I come to you in the first place? And if you don't give me a certain portion of the funds for my planning, I am not going to take up the project only. You can, that's good. Because it will not see, without planning, if you do anything, it will not have the outcome. So then they allowed us to do planning and
but
we
in
made...
NFCC, we were planning, I think.
Forest department, they have done all the planning.
No, but then we had submitted our plan for implementation areas and all. Those
It's
were,
like 8 pages.
we have identified which are critical.
Then they allowed. Then initially they were not allowing at all. They said, no, you take the funds for planning from the government, your state government. I said, if my state government had money, I would not come to you in the first place. Because that time they think that all the states are trying to take the money. So I said, if you don't give me planning, you can give the money, I won't do the project. So then...
Without planning for a project, you cannot take up.
And they were not giving admin also, no? The second time I went, I said, you are not giving admin funds, then how will I handle a big project like this if I am not allowed to spend on the administration little bit of support that might be need. That also same thing. Then they gave that also. So that was...
So now you are doing an NFCC project.
Finished. We closed also.
Also in the last year.
We closed
Also,
also
I
all
think
the
that
audits.
whether we'll get or not, that's also in suspense.
Madam, I just want to ask, under NFCC, how many villages you have covered and each village, how many springs you have identified?
No, spring identification. NAPCC, what we did was, we did not go only for spring. Springs was very less, very
Small subcomponent.
subcomponent.
So ma'am, have you taken any help from this one geohydrologist like Aquadam and PSI?
Aquadam is a partner from the beginning. From
I'll
2008.
be discussing this.
He'll be telling you how we think.
But when you said it is placed in the forested area, so the area is covered by the forest or the grasses, how will know? We have to dig it and see, no?
No.
Some
It's not like that.
particular point.
It's a hill, no?
Yeah.
You might have a road section going from here. So here पे थोड़ा rock का
Or
exposure
कहाँ
होगा.
exposed area को we have to find out, ना?
That is the feasibility, no?
Okay.
So both the side you have to go. Initially, it's a 3 or 4 day task.
Yes.
You will first go to the spring in the driest month, right?
Yes.
You have to go to the spring in the driest month, leanest month, take the discharge.
Okay.
That is very important. One time लेने से भी चलेगा, लेकिन leanest month का एक discharge लेना है, और दूसरा leanest month में उसी दिन जाके लेना है. So उसी से आपको success मिल जाएगा कि whether your thing has worked or not. So one time discharge ही लेते हैं, लेकिन we do it on the leanest month.
Leanness period, yeah.
Leanness period में करते हैं. So there's one thing, and when we go to the springs, उस springs के relation में we try to understand the geology. Geology में ज़्यादातर कुछ नहीं, rock type तो हमारा common है, so small, diversity ही नहीं है सिक्किम में. It's so 7096 kilometers, so mostly it's phyllites and quartzites. There are 2 types of rocks यहाँ पे. Fractures हैं. So यहाँ पे fracture है बोल के identify करने वाला इतना चाहिए. यहाँ ये fracture है. If there is a fracture, it continues till the hilltop. So that is one thing. Rock का deep किधर slope है, वो you can identify it's dipping this side. हाँ, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि यहाँ पे जाके it's a fold ना, it's a huge fold. तो यहाँ पे and we are working on a very small area, a small limb of a fold. ये fold के ये suppose if it is a fold, ये limb के छोटा area में, तो ये पूरा area का rock उधर ही deep होगा. ऐसा नहीं कि इतना छोटा area में you will not have so much of diversity. हाँ, fan formation नहीं होगा. So Springshed area is too small and the Himalayas are huge folds, no? So एक बार deep understand किया, type of rock understand किया, and then geological fractures कहाँ है, हाँ, ये understand किया, and I think you are experts in soil. सो उसका वेदरिंग कहीं पे एक्सपोजर में वेदरिंग कितना है, सोइल डेप्थ कितना है, टॉप सोइल का लेयर कितना है, अंडर वेदर मटेरियल कितना है, सो मोर और लेस आपको पता चल जाएगा। सो इतने से
तो सर क्रक्स है कि we have to find out some exposed area ना,
Yeah.
साइड यहाँ कहीं जाना चाहिए। इस
और
side
उसको
में-
एक्सपोज एरिया को फाइंड आउट भी करना है और उसका लोकेशन भी लेना है। एक दो नॉट ओनली 1 2 3 करना है, फिर देन यू पुट दैट लोकेशन ऑन द गूगल अर्थ। तो गूगल अर्थ तो 3D में आएगा ना। हाँ, तो गूगल अर्थ में आपको अगर वो डिप डाल दिया तो यू विल ट्राई, यू गेट एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि ये पूरा हिल है, इसका यहाँ पे इधर डिपिंग है, यहाँ पे भी इधर ही डिपिंग है। सो इन जनरल द एंटायर रॉक इज डिपिंग दिस साइड।
लखनऊ को लेने के बाद मतलब वो
Yeah.
पता चलेगा ना वो
Yeah.
सेम एलिवेशन में।
Another thumb rule is that
Right.
wherever there is a stream, it is a fracture.
अच्छा।
Huh? Yeah.
But-
Wherever there is a stream.
Stream. हाँ, हाँ।
So weakest portion ही तो water
वो जाने
travel
निकलता
करता
है,
है
हाँ,
ना।
exactly.
तो stream जहाँ पे है, it's a fracture in itself. Therefore there is a spring. So there are few things like to understand. So which are the fractures, which are not. So सिक्किम का केसेस में क्या है कि it's sort of a dendritic fracture. ऐसा पूरा फ्रैक्चर हो रहा है and ultimately it's coming down into a single point when it reaches the valley. So हमारा चैलेंज ये है कि जितना भी रिचार्ज कर रहा है, हाँ, एकदम नीचे पे you have a huge increase in the discharge, but we cannot stop that recharge in between because of the fracture. उसके वजह से क्या होगा, इम्पैक्ट कम हो रहा है बीच में, हाँ. So either we have to block that fracture, हाँ, understood ना? So whatever recharge we are doing today, it's collected by all those fractures and it's coming down to the valley. तो वैली में बहुत बड़ा स्ट्रीम ही निकल रहा है उसका, लेकिन उसको बीच में कैसे कंटेन करे वो स्प्रिंग्स में? See, most of the cases क्या है कि एक पूरा स्ट्रीम है and then पूरा स्ट्रीम में different लोकेशन पे people are tapping water. यहाँ पे भी टैप कर रहा है, यहाँ पे भी टैप कर रहा है, यहाँ पे भी टैप कर रहा है, ऐसा सिचुएशन भी है, हाँ. So there are challenges. We have talked to different types of geologists. They have said like, अब इसको कंटेन करना है तो फिर you have to उस फ्रैक्चर को फिर प्लग करना पड़ेगा. That उसके लिए you have to do different type of thing. But इतना माइन्यूट लेवल में हम नहीं जाते क्योंकि we are government thing. We don't want to एकदम लैबोरेटरी में प्रूव नहीं करना है. Unless and until people say that yes, we have water to drink at our homes. We don't have a problem. I think that is a success story for us. So we cannot go एकदम directly कि okay इतना क्यूसेक पानी था और इतना क्यूसेक बड़ा है, ये लेवल पे we cannot work.
Not in a research line.
Research line. So again we are an implementing line department. We simply go to the field and say people like we have done the Dhara Vikas. So what is the status? People say like no, we don't have. This time there was no conflict on water. Schools had water, like different places there was water. So we don't have water problem. Means that is a success story for us.
सर एक ये क्वेश्चन था, ये पब्लिक लेक में हो या ये आर्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट हो ना, जो ये ड्रेन आउट होता है तो एक तो रीजन होता है कि उसमें सोइल का इसमें डिफेन होता है.
Yes, exactly.
हाँ, लोमी और क्ले का सोइल का कारण से ब्लॉक होके वो पानी रह जाता है. अगर वो धीरे धीरे चला जाता है, चला जाके वो वासात होता है. तो वो जगह में अगर लोमी और क्ले नहीं होने से सर वो वाटर स्टैंडर्ड नहीं हो जितना भी पानी लाने से.
हाँ, हमने फिर बाहर से ट्रक में क्ले डाला सर. 7 trucks क्ले सॉइल डाल के भी पट्टी किया.
तो
वो
जो soil available
that
उसको
you have to
मार्किंग करना
understand.
नहीं.
हाँ, एक नामथांग में वैसा ही हुआ था. It was क्ले ही नहीं था. सो हमने क्या किया, नियर बाई क्ले एरिया से हमने ट्रक में भर के क्ले डाला, क्ले सॉइल डाल के फिर पट्टी किया.
मेरा फिशपोल में सर पानी ऐसे चला गया. फिशपोल में भी हम लोग पानी चला गया.
उसको भी
गिट्टी बालू
क्ले और ये लोमी डालना
अभी क्ले डालना पड़ा.
वो तो है.
में भी बचा करने देते हैं ना,
पानी ऊपर चला गया.
वो ब्लॉक
बालू
लेक बनाना क्ले का तो जरूर सीमेंटिंग का काम करना है.
क्ले तो सही है. विदाउट क्ले तो नहीं होगा.
तो सर आपका ये जो अभी मैनेजमेंट में सर हम कैसे मैनेज करते हैं? जैसे हम लोग क्ले कर रहे हैं
उसको जमने देना है.
ये उस पे मैंने ये बीच वगैरह तो खास नहीं, और उसको विलेजर उसको कैसे मेंटेन करेंगे ना, उसको
स्पेस को
आपका रिवाइवल मतलब रिवाइव हो गया वो
प्लास्टिक बिछा के पानी का
मैनेजमेंट
का साइड वाला है ना. ये
So
इंजीनियरिंग में
2 to 3 years when एक बार there is no provision for doing it again. अब गवर्नमेंट आपके लिए कितना करेगा, आपका विलेजर्स के लिए करेगा. एक बार हम कहीं से फंड मैनेज करके आपके स्प्रिंग सेट कर देगा. So every year the government will not come and maintain your spring set. So it's the villagers. So इसके लिए sensitization is very important. आपने जहाँ पे spring set किया है, so you don't go and do spring set there. First you take the villagers into consideration. Whenever implementing this spring set, make the villagers जो आप वो digging of trenches कर रहे हैं, वही villagers को लगाइए. Like you employ them to do the trenches, so that they would feel ultimately they will question why we are digging this. So we are digging this for our spring down there. So then after the spring shed, they will not believe you. They just work after the spring shed. When the lean season comes, they know they have been using that spring for so many years. They understand like if it gets revived or if the discharge gets impacted, they will start believing it. Then automatically you have to go and mobilize the villagers, saying that you have to make a committee, you have to do shramdan later on. Everybody should go and do the desiltation of that. So ऐसा करके कुछ NGOs या कुछ आपका वो internal arrangement बनना पड़ेगा. And इसमें ग्राम पंचायत का main role है. So as a line department person, I can always go and influence the entire community. So it's very important to sensitize the village head or the gram panchayat. So this is what we are doing. This is one time it's done by the government for you. Now this is your follow-up activity. This is how you should go and do it.
So basically that means PRA is very important.
Very important. PRA is very, very important. Without involvement of the local people, this is not possible, sir. It's not possible. It is not sustainable. So tomorrow in the private lands we have dug in some areas. Today we dug the land, so after a few days the owner went and filled it up.
In private land it's very difficult. It's very difficult to convince.
So ये भी complain भी करता है, नीचे गिर जाएगा, गाय गिर जाएगा.
अब depression springs का वही है कि like the depth of the soil is depth of the soil देखना है आपको. जो स्प्रिंग का लोकेशन है उसमें डिप्रेशन स्प्रिंग का तो जो रॉक और सॉइल का इंटरफेस है, वही तो एक्विफर जैसा हो जाएगा, वही तो सैचुरेटेड जोन हो जाएगा. देखो इट इज अ डिप्रेशन स्प्रिंग. अगर उसमें फ्रैक्चर होता तो इट वुड गो डाउन. सो आपको सॉइल डेप्थ देखना है कितना है और कितना क्लेंजिंग करोगे. जो एक्सेसिव करने से फिर क्रीपिंग हो जाएगा, नीचे दबने शुरू हो जाएगा. So that we have to see. So depression springs में इतना डिपेंडेंसी भी बड़ा है क्या सर?
डिप्रेशन में सर आपने जो यहाँ पे दिखाया था ना, आपका जो ये फ्रैक्चर का जो दिखा, that is very true. Technical.
Understand the nature of the aquifer.
Extended one.
Extended aquifer है. So ऐसा करके आपको जो डिस्चार्ज है ना, उसको अगर ले लिया, हर स्प्रिंग का डिस्चार्ज को ले लिया, रेनफॉल के अगेंस्ट में प्लॉट कर लिया, वो हाइड्रोग्राफ का शेप जो है ना, वो आपको क्लियरली आइडेंटिफाई कर पाएंगे. It will explain like what type of aquifer you are having.
Yes sir. Now we got it.
सर हम लोग का उधर में मैक्सिमम रेनफॉल ज़्यादा होता है, लोकल एक्विफर में मैक्सिमम जमा होता है, अदरवाइज मैक्सिमम रन आउट होते हैं. तो अंदर का जो एक्विफर है ना, उसमें हम लोग इतना जमा नहीं होता, क्योंकि जो सोइल डेप्थ हम लोग ज़्यादा है मैक्सिमम एरिया. आपका मेघालय में और सिक्किम में थोड़ा सा ये सोइल डेप्थ कम है.
हमारा तो कम है.
तो हम लोग उधर से सोइल डेप्थ ज़्यादा है, इसलिए हम लोग लोकल एक्विफर में जमा होते हैं. वो लिमिटेड ये उसमें जमा होता है.
So the thing is that it's not like to every trainees who come we say like this is the main technique we follow. Our technique may not be applicable on yours. You have to go and customize it as per your condition. So that is there. So but basic principle is still like we need to identify the recharge areas. That's very, very important.
That's very important. Like, we actually wanted to know how you manage it and how you identify the research area, whether you do it or you engage someone from other source.
Yeah, sometimes we engage also. If there are projects like this time, अभी recent project दिखा रहा था, I can also do it. We can also do it. But this SDC came that they have a program with, they have a program for a Springshed. So what we proposed was, we will give you a Springshed site. You come, and do the feasibility. आप कर दो, for us, we'll implement it.
कौन करेगा वाला?
ये स्विस डेवलपमेंट कॉर्पोरेशन का अभी ये आया था टीम.
SDC ना?
SDC ने if some organization says that Tata Consultancy anyone who come and say like we want to do something for the Springshed, हम उसको बोलेंगे कि आप feasibility करो. और वो बोलेगा कि कौन करेगा, हम देंगे आपको टेक्निकल टीम. सो हम एक्वाडम को रेफर कर देगा. सो एक्वाडम को दे विल पे, दिस पीपल विल कम एंड दे विल डू फिजिबिलिटी पर. सो हमारा टाइम भी बचत हो गया. वी डिड नॉट गो टू द
And work is also this aquadam is also getting work.
they are also getting work. So this same thing happened this one.
एक्वाडम को पे करेगा तो they will come for feasibility
Obviously,
studies. हाँ.
Obviously, उनको भी तो
They are also an this NGO.
they are also NGO.
सर वो आपका जो लास्ट स्लाइड में दिखाया था ना WFF जो था, तो वो स्क्रीनशॉट में ये करते हैं, सर फंडिंग करते हैं सर आप लोगों को? Are you getting any funding from this?
WWF initially when we started the Springshed 11-12 में
Tawang na this
they were
funded there.
Yeah.
This work is going on the Springshed. नेरिस का कोई कर रहा है सर वहाँ का, ये लोग फंडिंग किया Springshed पे.
हाँ सर पहले करते, अभी नहीं कर रहे वो लोग.
अभी नहीं कर रहे.
अभी देयर मैन एनिमल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के ऊपर उनका भी है प्रोजेक्ट्स. दे आर मोर टाइड अप विद द फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट. आपको आना है, आपको ट्रेनिंग देना है, और फिर हमको ऑन ग्राउंड भी उसको क्या करना है, इम्प्लीमेंट करना है बोल के आप एक प्रोग्राम डिजाइन कर दीजिए. सो इफ यू हायर डायरेक्टली एज अ कंसल्टेंट ऑन द Springshed to do the work, they will teach you. You make a program, training का मतलब सब जाके फिर वो उनको सिखाना पड़ेगा. And then ultimately you should also know what the DPR look like. You have to prepare a DPR for any implementation. वो typical DPR कैसा देखता है Springshed का, क्या क्या component होना चाहिए, what are things to be put into the DPR. So ये सब हमें ultimately आप एक proper Springshed का DPR बनाना के लिए ट्रेनिंग दीजिए. And then we'll also inside by side we will do a live what you call action research जैसा करेंगे, हमारा एरिया को भी इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे बोलेंगे तो फिर then your people will also be engaged and they will do the work, they will teach you and identify the research area you join के हो सकता है. If you want to do water quality, collaborate with PSI. They are good in water quality. Then this hydrogeological mapping.
They have done TDS and all.
Exactly.
So इसलिए I was supposed to ask you ना, TDS आपने कुछ use किया कि नहीं?
नहीं किया. अभी तक नहीं किया. अभी तक नहीं किया. That's what I said. No, we also want to do water quality. We are focusing on water quality. So if Chirag भी है, one more is there. Chirag भी है. हाँ, Chirag is also fairly good. Chirag is also fairly good. It's an organization.
CHIRAG. यहाँ नहीं डाला है, बहुत सारा कम इक्वाडम वो ज़्यादा पॉपुलर है इक्वाडम.
हाँ.
तो सर इस तरह हो सकता है क्या कि एक कुछ सब कनाली प्रोसेस है ना, तो हम लोग सिक्किम में धारा विकास से एक्सपर्ट या आप लोग वीडियो बनाने में हेल्प मांग सकते हैं क्या? ठीक है, इस तरह का.
But see, I cannot promise. Me working on project is that I look after some yes down there. वो नहीं देखा. National road पर research करके वो भी नहीं देखा. MG नरेगा पे मैं देखा. So there are lots of things. Now we have a meeting for this. हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में 70 पॉइंट बनाना है. अमृत सरोवर मोदी का नया. This year having a meeting. अब ये जो Springshed है हमारे लिए एक स्मॉल पार्ट है. जब खाली होता है तो Springshed करते हैं. When we are engaged, no, और other things. तो इसीलिए I can had I been an officer in the Springshed और मेरा Springshed ही काम होता था, I would have done. So ये प्रॉब्लम है.
So it's a positive thing. There has been increase in household overall income 6% से increase हुआ है. और जो EPA works था ना मैडम, उसमें हमने जो ICDS होते हैं ना बच्चों के, उसमें भी हमने तो enhance करने के लिए ना वो क्या है उसमें videos में आपको देखा होगा. So there is expectation of positive change in land use pattern with increase in surface of
positive change हुआ है, surface water conservation हुआ है, वो वीडियो में also it was observed that
अच्छा, why not? अच्छा, हम लोग इसके
miscellaneous funds including interest. I have watched, yes.
Okay, ma'am, we should have.
Then you can continue your
Come, please.
Photo.
I'll just call one more man on that. One more. With a matching vest. This is another view, no? This is another. Thank you. खुशी मैमलाई बोलाइदिनु न She's the one who coordinates everybody in the department for us. A small token of, so much love from us. It's called Mekhla, no? This is Galai. Actually, Galai means different look of women.
All are matching, but then all are matching.